You wake up because the cold got stronger. Not louder, not dramatic. Hoost, stronger. The power has been out long enough for the apartment to feel wrong. The walls are colder, the air feels thinner. Your breath starts to show near the window. The dog has stopped pacing and curled into a tight ball, nose buried, saving heat before you even admit that heat is now the real emergency. That is where most people lose the night. They grab every blanket they own. They pile them on the bed. They stay in the biggest room because it feels normal. They wait for morning. They tell themselves, the apartment will hold. It will not hold. And that is the mistake. In a winter blackout, you do not freeze all at once. You freeze in the wrong order. First, you lose comfort, then judgment, then energy, then time. And once you start making decisions from cold instead of logic, the building starts winning. So this video is about one thing only: how to stop freezing indoors when the power is gone and the apartment is bleeding heat. Not next week, not in theory. Tonight, you need 7 moves, and the first one is not more blankets. The first move is to stop thinking about the whole apartment. That sounds obvious until you see how people actually behave. They drift from room to room. They leave doors open. They try to keep the place livable. They sit in the living room because that is where life usually happens. They waste heat trying to preserve normal life inside a building that is no longer normal. Do not heat a home. Save a zone. Pick one small room. Smaller is better. Interior is better. Fewer windows is better. One door is better. You are not choosing comfort. You are choosing the cheapest pocket of air you can still control. In this version of the night, she moves fast. Bedroom, 1 exterior wall, and too much air. Bathroom, bad for sleep, bad for morale. Back storage room, tight, ugly, interior, and good enough to survive in. That becomes the heat room. Then she seals it. Towel at the door gap. Spare clothes packed into cracks. Plastic over the window frame first if she has it. Fabric over that second. Plastic slows moving air. Fabric slows radiant loss. Use both if you can. Use whatever you have if you cannot. And here's the part people miss. Once you choose the room, stop treating the rest of the apartment like shelter. Cold space is dead space now. Every trip out of that room costs heat, energy, and focus. You are not living in an apartment anymore. You are defending one small pocket of survivable air. That alone changes the night. But it still does not solve the biggest heat thief in the room. Because the most dangerous cold is not always the cold you feel around you. It is the cold under you. This is where people make the second fatal mistake. They build upward, more blankets, bigger piles, thicker top layers. But the floor keeps pulling heat out of them all night. Hard surfaces win by contact: concrete, wood, thin mattress, over cold boards, couch against an outside wall. It all adds up. Fix the floor before you fix the blanket pile. She checks it the right way. Back of the hand to the floor. 5 seconds. Too cold. Cold. That means the ground gets insulation first. Now she builds layers. Plastic low if moisture is a risk. Flattened cardboard next. Then folded blankets, couch cushions, towels, foam packaging, dry clothes, anything that adds thickness and trapped air. Dry matters. Wet insulation is fake insulation. She lies down and tests it. Still feels cold rising through the stack. So she adds more. That is the rule. If you can still feel cold pushing up through the floor, you are not done. The dog helps here, too. He refuses the first corner. Keeps circling, won't settle. Good. That is useful. Animals often catch bad ground faster than people do. She shifts the setup closer to the interior wall and away from the cold corner. Better. This is what urban survival actually looks like. Not one clever trick, not one expensive item, just a chain of corrections before the cold punishes the wrong choice. Now the room is smaller. The floor is better, but there is still too much air. So the next move is the one many people laugh at until they need it. Build a smaller climate inside the room. If you have a small camping tent, use it indoors. If you do not, make a low shelter with chairs, a table, a blanket, sheets, a clothesline. Whatever works. The goal is not comfort. The goal is volume. Your body can warm a tiny, enclosed space much faster than it can warm a room inside. A room beats a blanket in open air. She drags in 2 chairs, a folding table, and a blanket. Low roof, tight walls. Enough room for her and the dog. Not elegant. Not spacious. Just small enough to hold warmth and calm enough to sleep in. She keeps a safe breathing gap. She throws one thick layer over the top. Not a crushing stack, because compressed insulation stops working the way people think it does. Then she pulls the dog bed inside. 2. That matters more than it sounds. Shared heat matters. A smaller occupied airspace warms faster. A calmer dog wastes less energy. And a quieter shelter does something else that people underestimate. It cuts pani. In a blackout, morale is not a luxury. It is decision support. Do not build it too big. Bigger feels better for 5 minutes and colder all night. Do not build it against the window either. Stay inward. Stay away from lost points. And if you do not have a tent and cannot build a full shelter, use the next best version. Lower the air around the sleep space. Hang blankets close. Reduce ceiling loss. Shrink the pocket. Same principle. Smaller warm zone. Less waste. That gets you through the next problem, but not through the whole night. Because people do not just sleep. Wrong in blackouts. They dress wrong too. This part matters because bad clothing decisions destroy good shelter decisions. Most people overdress badly. Tight hoodie, cotton shirt, sweatpants, thick socks. Then they haul supplies, start sweating, and crawl into their sleep setup damp. Now they are wrapped up, but they are also wet, compressed, and cooling down. That is not warmth. That is delight. Trouble. Do not dress warm. Dress dry, loose, and stable. Start with the driest layer closest to the skin. Synthetic athletic fabric is good. Wool is good. If all you have is imperfect clothing, use the driest option first and keep moisture away from the skin as much as you can. 10 Add loft. Fleece. Wool. Loose. Sweatshirt. Dry layers that trap air. Protect the head, hands, neck, and feet, but do not choke circulation with tight socks or tight gloves. A lot of cold feet come from pressure, not just thin fabric. She catches herself in time. She is sweating after moving furniture and sealing the room. That is not a win. That is a warning. She opens the jacket, cools down, changes the damp shirt, then gets back to work.
We barely have room to stand.
That one pause may save more body heat than another blanket. And remember this, in a blackout, wet becomes dangerous before it becomes obvious. So if you're asking yourself whether you are too damp to matter, you probably already are. Now here's the part many people still skip. Even after fixing room, floor, shelter, and clothing, they forget the body still has to make heat. You cannot trap warmth your body never produced. That means food matters, water matters, timing matters. Your body is a furnace, and a furnace without fuel turns into dead weight. She checks what she has. Peanut butter crackers, half a bag of almonds, 1 protein bar, Bottled water, not
First,
much,
lift the heavy
but enough
blanket
for the
as
night
shown in step
if
1.
used on purpose.
Then
Say,
drape it over the
it's
adhesive hooks to create a
before
second
sleep,
barrier against
not
the
after she starts shivering harder. She gives the dog a measured portion too, because a cold, underfed dog is a weaker alarm, a weaker companion, and a weaker source of shared heat. Small, calorie-dense food wins here. Nut, butter, nuts, chocolate, jerky, shelf-stable, cheese. If you can prepare them safely, you do not need a big meal. You need fuel that keeps the body working while the room stays cold. Hydration matters too, but do not chug icy water right before sleep, and call that preparedness sip. Warm it safely if you can. If not, keep the bottle inside your layers for a while before drinking. And no, alcohol does not help. It gives false warmth, worse, judgment, and bad decisions at exactly the wrong time. If it makes you feel brave, it is probably making you easier to kill. By now you have conserved heat, built layers, reduced airspace, dressed correctly, fueled the body. This is the point where many people ruin everything by rushing to add heat the wrong way. Because fire feels like control. Used wrong, it is just a faster killer. If it burns fuel, treat it like a threat first and a comfort second. Never bring a charcoal grill indoors. Never run a generator in the apartment, hallway, basement, garage, or near openings. Never use the gas oven as a room heater. Never trust exhaustion around open flame. Never assume a cracked door magically makes something safe. Carbon monoxide does not care that you are cold. If you have a heater specifically rated by the manufacturer for indoor use, follow the instructions exactly. Ventilate exactly as directed. Keep clearance exactly as directed. Keep a working battery-powered carbon monoxide detector in play if any approved combustion heater is used. That is not paranoia. That is procedure. And here is the order that matters. Conserve first, add heat second. Most people reverse that because flame feels powerful, but a badly used heat source can kill the room faster than winter can. Candles are another lie people tell themselves. Light, yes. Morale, sometimes. Real room heat, barely. Unattended fire risk in an exhausted blackout apartment, very real. So do not confuse comfort rituals with survival systems. And now comes the part that decides whether all of this lasts until morning or falls apart at 3 in the morning when the room gets colder. Your body gets slower, and your thinking gets worse. Do not survive the minute. Survive the night in stages. That means thinking ahead in blocks. What will get damp by midnight? What part of the room will be colder before dawn? What can shift while you sleep? What has to stay inside arm's reach? What does the dog hear before you do? What will you do if the room drops harder at 2 in the morning? She checks everything before lying down. Doors sealed, window covered, floor insulated. Only dry layers, food and water inside reach. Flashlight reachable without standing. Shoes ready, phone battery preserved. Leash clipped nearby, dog inside the shelter.com, but alert to every sound in the building. Then she does one more smart thing. She sets alarms through the night. Not constant screen use. Not panic checking every 10 minutes. Just enough to wake, assess, listen, feel the room, check the dog, and decide whether the setup still works. That is what people miss when they imagine survival. They imagine one dramatic move. Real survival is quieter than that. It is a chain of small correct decisions made before you are too cold to make them. So if you want the short version, here it is. Shrink the problem to one room. Insulate from below before piling on top. Build a microclimate inside the room. Wear dry, loose layers. Eat before sleep and hydrate with intent. Treat every fuel-burning heat source like a threat. Manage the night in stages, not feelings. That is how you stop freezing indoors. Not by hoping the blankets will save you. Not by pretending the outage will end soon. Not by doing what feels normal inside a building that has already changed. You survive by accepting what the space has become, reducing the air you must control, protecting the heat you still have, and refusing the desperate mistake that kills more people than cold ever gets credit for. And if you are paying attention, the next problem is already waiting. By morning, cold may not be the only threat. Water can fail. Damp becomes infection. Dirty hands become bad wounds. Bad heating choices become headaches, confusion, poison, or fire. Surviving night one is not the end. It is just the first clean line you hold. So tell me this in the comments. In a winter blackout, what scares you more? The cold, the dark, or what starts going wrong on day 2? And tell me what city you are in. I want to see where people still think they are safe, right before winter teaches them otherwise. Stay warm, stay sharp, stay hard to kill.